Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining this citizenship subject session. I'm Sarah Fawcett, the subject lead for citizenship at AQA. I've spent a couple of decades teaching both sociology and citizenship, and I now lead on supporting schools, centres nationally. Today is about cutting through what can feel complex and giving you a clear practical sense of what assessment reform could mean for citizenship. I'll also be really keen to hear your views as we go through. So would you mind clicking onto the QR code? I think there's going to be a link placed in your chat as well. So before we start, join the Slido using the code or QR link on the screen. And this is how we'll gather your views throughout the session. Obviously, it's really important, your feedback, because it's going to directly shape the conversations that we're having with the DFE and Ofqual. So I'll just give you a few minutes to sort that out. Okay, welcome then to Assessment Reform Week, day number 3. So this week is designed to bring everything together in one place. Across the week, we're exploring what reform could mean for learners, for subjects, for schools, and for you as teachers. Today is your subject focus session, so we're going to zoom in specifically on citizenship. So far already, we have seen on Monday that there's been a kick-off webinar, which you can still listen to if you go onto our website. So we had a kick-off on Monday looking at reform more generally and what it means for you. Yesterday, there was a chance to hear real conversation from school leaders on how they're approaching assessment reform in practice. And today we have the subject-focused updates that will help you answer some of the key questions and what this assessment reform could mean for you in the coming years. Then we've got more to come in the rest of the week. Tomorrow is all about how we can support you with a look at the support available to you. And then on Friday, we'll be part of the Festival of Education, focusing on getting teachers like you involved in assessment reform with live teacher panels. So let's move on to assessment reform itself, and then I'll look more specifically at what it means for citizenship and what we know. So there's been a lot happening, even if it doesn't feel very visible. There's been a lot going on behind the scenes. The Curriculum and Assessment Review was published in November by Becky Francis, and subject content is now being drafted. AQA is actively feeding into this work and engaging with Ofqual. And the direction is very much evolutionary, not revolutionary. There are some key themes included in this curriculum reform. We've got themes like reduced exam time, digital skills and assessment, financial education, inclusivity and creativity. And for citizenship specifically, digital and financial education are particularly important. And I'll come back to those later. So these are things that are not quite confirmed yet. So the previous slide were things that we do know, and these two elements are things that we don't quite know yet. So it's really important to be clear about this uncertainty. So some things are not yet confirmed, including timelines. So I'll show you in the next slide, but subjects have been placed in different phases. We've got phase 1 subjects and phase 2 subjects. And we're not yet confirmed as to which subjects are in which phase. The key message, though, is that let me just forward you to the next one. So here's the time scale. So here we are with the consultation that we've had at the back end of last year and the consultation that's going on now. So you can see from this graph that it's this chart, it's a long-term change with phased rollout right through to 2034. 2026 to 2028 focuses on consultation and the final content and first teaching of the new curriculum. So the new national curriculum is due to be started to teach in 2028. And then this is what I was talking about with the two phases of GCSE subjects. So our phase 1 GCSE changes will be first taught in 2029, and the phase 2 subjects, it will be first teach in 2030. Now, what we don't know is whether citizenship is going to be classed as a phase 1 or a phase 2 subject. That's still to be announced. And then further down, we've got the A-level specification changes, and they're happening 2031 and 32. And again, we don't know which are phase 1 and which are phase 2. So a quick sense of where everyone is starting from. So on a scale of 1 to 5, how confident do you feel about assessment reform right now? I'll give you a moment to respond to that quick poll. Okay, so let's now focus specifically on GCSE citizenship studies. So this is what reform means for citizenship studies, and in particular what it means for AQA. So firstly, it means at AQA we'll be building on what works. So although the review doesn't make specific recommendations for GCSE citizenship, we're focusing on areas highlighted across Key Stage 1 and 4. So what we'll be interested in doing is ensuring smooth transition and progression from Key Stage 1 through to Key Stage 4. Secondly, we'll be supporting active and thoughtful citizens. So we do this already with our current specification, with the focus on active citizenship in paper 1. The increased focus on citizenship here will help students develop the knowledge and skills they need to become engaged and responsible members of society. Thirdly, for citizenship and at AQA, there'll be clearer guidance for teaching. We'll be working closely with Ofqual to ensure the purpose and content of GCSE citizenship is clear and specific, so that it makes your planning and delivery simpler for teachers. Fourthly, we'll be building essential skills. So AQA will deliver on updates that will strengthen coverage of these newer topics that we're potentially likely to see. Media literacy, we're already on with climate education, law and rights and democracy. So we'll be building on those skills. And then lastly, and this was a big, this was kind of a new one, wasn't it, in the curriculum reform, strengthening financial education. So we'll be placing greater emphasis on financial literacy to help students build key life skills for the future. Now, of course, we don't know what that subject content is. That's where the consultation is happening at the moment. We know that citizenship is going to get a new subject content. Once we know what that is, this is when we can start consulting with the DFE, and then we start developing the specification. Importantly, though, I think it's about citizenship. It's not about being overhauled. It's about strengthening and sharpening what's already strong, and the strong practice that's already out there. And like I mentioned in previous ones, we're going to see a bit more emphasis, I reckon, on things like media literacy, climate education, and financial literacy. So some key topics. So it's a chance to shape what comes next. We already know from teacher panels and conversations that certain themes matter most. And today's about testing those, and I'm really interested in hearing your perspectives directly, because as I said earlier, this is a consultation period, and once we get the DFE subject content, that's when us as an exam board get involved in that consultation. And if the more I know from teachers about what they want to see, then it will be a more informed consultation. So from our teacher panels, we know that the assessment that we have works for students. Teachers tell us that our papers are clear and consistent. We've got 2 1.5-hour exams. They're seen as accessible. They're seen as not too long. We've explored a few models of delivering active citizenship with further insights to be shared in upcoming curriculum connects. There's more to do though. So can I ask, do you find our assessments clear and simple, firstly? And what else could we do to support an accessible assessment? So I think you're able to put this in your chat on Slido. So if you give you a few minutes to just think about our current methods of assessment, do you find them clear and simple? So those 2 papers. And we're very keen to get accessible assessment right. So I'd be really interested to know how we as an exam board could support you with accessible assessment.
Yeah, if people want to put any comments just in the Q&A section, if you've got any comments that you want to, or any feedback you want to pass through, just pop them in the Q&A section. That would be lovely.
We've got some responses. Amanda, shall I move on?
There's just one that's come through, but
okay.
Yeah, I think, yeah, there's a few more, so yeah.
Okay, I just didn't want to rush through the next slide, and then if people
are give
still
people
thinking
time
and everything.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'll give it a minute or so.
I think we can move on.
Okay, so secondly, citizenship is obviously really relevant and relevant to the modern world. It's uniquely placed as a subject, isn't it? There'll be increased focus on financial literacy. And I might just do a plug for a product that we've got coming through that will help teachers, teach in this area of the curriculum, called Financial Futures, which is a series of lessons which will be coming through later on this year that are all about teaching students financial literacy. So we know there's going to be increased focus on it. Not just financial literacy, climate education and media literacy. The aim is to better equip students for this real world citizenship. And I'd really like your thoughts then on how do you feel about these additions like financial literacy in particular? What support would you need to implement these new topics? And I've just put on the left-hand side there some research about what we know about GCSE citizenship students, more likely to understand how politics works, express political interests, which is what we want, and to trust in democratic institutions. And I think as you know, with votes for 16 on the table, this GCSE and, well, statutory citizenship becomes more important. So I'll give you a minute or so to add your thoughts on that one. If you give us a shout, Amanda, when you think I should move on, because I don't want to.
Yeah, we've just started getting a few through, so just another minute or so and see if anyone else is putting anything. Yeah, there's just a few coming through now. Thank you.
Brilliant.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah. As I said at the beginning, your views are so important for these consultation periods. If we know, because you're the ones at the chalk face who will be delivering this this new specification. So this is why your feedback is so important to us.
I think it might be ready to move on now. Thank you.
So another key focus then is going to be ensuring consistency and progression. So with starting to deliver citizenship education right from Key Stage 1, we're going to have a different set of students, aren't we, if we're putting them in at Key Stage 4 and starting a new GCSE, because they're going to have covered quite a bit of citizenship education before. So the GCSE citizenship should clearly build on what students learn earlier. So as I've said before, we're working with the DFE and Ofqual to make content clearer and easier to plan. That's definitely one of our main agenda points, is to make it clearer and easier, well, to make it easier for you guys who are teaching it. And as always, we're working with teachers, as we are now, to get it right. So what would help you most in terms of clarity? So clarity from our specification. It might be about how it's laid out. It might be about our assessment objectives. It might be about how our units are covered. So is there anything that you could feedback on that?
There's just a few coming through now, Sarah, so thank you. Just one more moment. Looks like it's slowed now, so we're ready to move on, Sarah. Thank you.
Okay, so now open for any questions that that you'd like to share, anything that you're unsure about. So I don't know about you, but I'm really excited that citizenship was identified as statutory. It's a really good opportunity for students to be, to be educated in these vital things like financial and media literacy. So any other questions that you might have? About reform, about the subject, or predictions for what the score is going to be tonight, 5 o'clock. Any predictions for that? We've got any questions coming through, Amanda?
Yes, so we have got a couple. 2-1 to England is one of them. Predictions. But yeah,
Okay.
we have got 7 questions that are waiting for you to be answered. So
okay, where do I see those? Do I go into the chat?
I shall present my screen. So if you just bear with me one moment, I'll bring those up for you. Okay.
I hope it's 2-1. First teach for phase 1 is based upon a 2-year key stage 4 presumed. So 3 years would need to start teaching September 28. You couldn't start teaching it September 28 because if citizenship is a phase 1, it will be, therefore your 3-year journey will start in 2029 if it's phase 1. If that makes sense. And then if it's in phase 2, which is first teach 2030, we're going for, that will be first exam 32. So if it's 29, first exam 31, if it's 30, first exam 32, unless you're doing the 3-year journey, and then it'd be 2033. How could reform improve inclusivity? I think it could improve inclusivity. Well, we'll have to see what the details are. Because following on with that next question, when will more detail be available? I'm hoping soon, but I haven't got a time scale. They haven't given us a time scale. I know that the DFE are drafting the content of the citizenship curriculum. I don't know what the details are of the content, and I don't know when it will be published. But if we're after first teach in 2029, if it's a phase 1, we need to be publishing it soon. But they've not let us know on the time scale. How will the content for financial literacy be distinguished from PSHCE? So I'll read these questions out in case. Can everybody see the questions, Amanda?
I think if you can see them, everyone can see them. Okay. So yeah.
So how will the content for financial literacy be distinguished from PSHCE, or is the idea for it to be more about helping students? Good question. I think from a GCSE point of view, I would like to think that there would be a distinct kind of section on financial literacy. I guess the earlier stuff in Key Stage 3, it depends what the extent of financial literacy they wanted in the curriculum. Some schools might teach financial literacy as part of PSHCE. This is at Key Stage 3 and Key Stage 4. Some might weave it through other subjects. It depends on the model of the school, and it depends what the content is, doesn't it? It depends on what they're saying that financial literacy should include. So in answer to that, Terry, it depends on your school's model. Some schools do financial literacy as part of PSHCE. Some might do it as a drop-down day. Some might weave it through other subjects. It depends on what that content is. I'd like to understand how the financial and climate topics will be assessed. Example, what type of questions will they be answering? Evaluation type questions about these topics. Well, we've not written the spec yet, so I wouldn't. There would definitely be evaluate questions, as there are in our papers now. So I would imagine that if we're assessing on financial and climate, then there would be questions on that. But I'm not able to say how many marks those questions would be yet, because we've got to write the spec first. But yeah, evaluation is one of our assessment objectives. And if they're doing a GCSE in citizenship studies, I would imagine that they'll be asked to evaluate. But I don't know what that content is yet. Will any existing content be removed to make space for new topics? It's going to be a whole new specification. So once the subject content from the DFE, so at the moment, it's been drafted, then the next stage is it goes for consultation, and that's where we get involved. So we're hoping that this draft will come out anytime soon. And then this is when the exam boards enter into consultation with the DFE. And this is where I take your views and the things that you're telling me here. And this is where we input into that DFE subject content, because the DFE subject content is where we then develop our specification from. All exam boards have to write a specification based on that subject content. So once we know that, then we will, and once we've consulted on it, and once we're happy with it, that's when we then start to draft a new specification. So it'd be a completely new spec. So in terms of removal and making space for new topics, I mean, it's already been intimated that financial literacy will be somewhere in there. We don't know how much yet. So that's likely to be a new topic area in GCSE citizenship. From your discussions with the Gov, do you envisage there to be a real emphasis on schools delivering citizenship to Key Stage 3 and also to students at Key Stage 4 that don't take the GCSE? Yeah, that's an interesting question, and I think alongside the new statutory guidelines for citizenship, you'd like to think. I think Ofsted would need to identify or explain how they're going to inspect citizenship, because I would imagine that if Ofsted say that we wanting to see blah de blah about citizenship, then schools will have to look at how they're delivering it through Key Stage 3 and Key Stage 4. They'll certainly have to still deliver some element of citizenship through Key Stage 4, even if they're not taking the GCSE. And I guess that's where schools look at those delivery models through PSHCE. So yeah, it depends on your school, and I guess it depends on what Ofsted will say about what they're looking for in terms of citizenship. What will the impact of the new banding systems? I understand citizenship will be quite low. Example, history, geog and RS are rumoured to be higher. Yeah, the new banding systems, that is another thing that's in consultation at the moment. So the banding systems, I presume you're talking about the measures for progress 8. So at the moment there are 8 buckets, and I believe in bucket 1 and 2 we have English and maths, 3 is science, I think 4 and 5 is your humanities and languages, and at the moment citizenship is in that big bucket at the end, 7 and 8. The consultation is suggesting that citizenship be moved up to be classed alongside history, geography and RS. I think the impact, if it does, will mean that we'll get lots more people doing GCSE citizenship. The impact might be that subject numbers might decrease in those ones, but they might not do that. Again, consultation closed on that at the beginning of May, and I think they've been a bit busy in government, haven't they? And they've not told us about what the result of that consultation is yet. So yeah, it depends. If citizenship stays with all the other subjects in 7 or 8, but if it moves up, I think the impact will be lots more students taking citizenship, and it possibly might have an impact on numbers for those subjects there. But we'll have to see what they come up with. First teacher of phase 1 is based upon a 2-year Key Stage 4. So 3 years you need to start. Yeah, you'd need to, if it's phase 1, it will be first teach 2029, and the exam would be 32 on a 3-year model. You couldn't start teaching it earlier because of when they're going to announce things. But first teach of phase 1 is September 29. So whether you do it as 2-year or 3-year, you're still going to start to teach it in 2029. Will this reform change the active citizenship part of the topic? I don't know for sure, but I'd like to think that active citizenship will remain part of the specification. But again, I don't know for sure, but I think one of the whole points of citizenship studies is that we encourage students to be active citizens, and one way of doing that is to have some element of the specification which encourages them to be active citizens. So I'd like to think that that would remain. I don't know for sure because I haven't seen the subject content. I'd like to think that would stay the same. Were there more guidance on assessment at key stage 3, for instance, clear steps rather than just end of stage statements? At the moment, I don't believe we're getting much involved in key stage 3. Where we'll need to get involved in key stage 3 is we'll need to be very secure in our knowledge as to what key stage 3 citizenship looks like, so that we can ensure that our GCSE sequences really well from the key stage 3 topic. But in terms of AQA as an exam board doing assessments at key stage 3, I wouldn't imagine we'd go into key stage 3. I think we're very much our first thing we'll be doing is key stage 4 GCSE, but rest assured it will be based on and sequenced from the key stage 3 national curriculum. I'm not sure whether this question helped me earlier, but what I meant is that if first teacher phase 1 is September 29, then first exams is summer 31, then those with a 3-year key stage 4 would need to start teaching the new spec from September 28. Yeah, but they couldn't start teaching it in September 28 because it wouldn't be available. So regardless of, it would have to be started to teach in 2029. Does that still make sense? And last question here, with additional content such as media literacy, climate change and financial literacy, how will the expanded statutory citizenship curriculum support meaningful oracy when the subject's content is broad and topic based rather than built around a clear narrative? That's a good question. It's really high on the agenda, isn't it, oracy? And I guess supporting meaningful oracy will come through in the way it's delivered and taught, and then I guess that's down to an exam board to perhaps support you with resources and ideas as to how you can translate the specification to support oracy in the classroom. So I hope that's answered your question on there. When the subject's content is broad and topic based. I mean, that's not to say we might get a clearer narrative. I say the specification hasn't, started to write yet, but I certainly think that that's going to be a biggie, isn't it? The place of oracy, and I think as well, citizenship is one of the main subjects, isn't it, at Key Stage 4, where students can demonstrate their oracy as well. It might be something that comes through on this subject guidelines. We don't know. It might be something that comes through in that. We'll have to see. Any other questions? If I've not been clear, if you put another question in there, and I'll have a go at trying to answer.
I'll just stop sharing my screen for now.
Okay.
There we go.
So I've got quite a lot of questions there.
Yeah. There's none others that I can see that have come through just yet. So,
and are there any areas in those questions earlier where we could do with a few more responses? Because those are some of the areas that I'd like feedback on, those earlier questions.
Yeah, most of them were comments, but any questions I did put through. So the
any
others
comments,
were just
suggestions. Yeah, that's great. Some of those. Okay. So no more coming through?
I think that one might have already been answered. Have a look through. T1 English. Just having a. Okay.
We can't unmic, can we? Or can we?
Can do, yeah, I can do that.
Yeah.
Let me.
Unmic if anybody wants to.
I'll open the. Do you want me to open the chat in here as well? If anyone wants to put
open the
anything in the
chat,
chat
open the
here.
mics, open the camera. We're a nice small group. We can discuss.
So the chat's being turned on, and people can raise their hand and come on camera or on mic if they want to.
Hey. Becky's typing a question. Just while the chat's open, I've got a question. So who in the room is a citizenship teacher solely, and who teaches something else, and this is like their second subject? Have we got any citizenship specialists in the room, or you would class yourself as a citizenship specialist? And if not, I'd be interested to know what other subjects you're teaching. Oh, fellow sociologists. Fantastic. Oh, you love citizenship. There's loads of stuff that comes across citizenship. Citizenship specialist. Yes. Criminology. It is, Becky, about GCSE citizenship. A GCSE pathway for my college. Ah. Hi, Magnus. You okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. Any questions?
Yeah, sorry. Could I just follow up? I'm still asking about that 3-year Key Stage 4, if that's all right, because I don't think I've articulated it well.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm assuming if we assume that the first, let's assume citizenship is phase 1.
Yeah.
Then I'm presuming the last exams on the current spec would be summer 2030.
No, it'd have to be 2031, I guess, for those people who are doing 3-year GCSEs.
So you're going to have a year where you're going to offer exams for the current spec and the new spec simultaneously.
It would need to be, wouldn't there? Because if you're starting a 3-year citizenship course in 2028, you would.
So I remember the last time we had a review, we had a bit more work to do where I work because we got the 3-year Key Stage 4.
Yeah.
So we had to effectively start teaching the first year of the GCSE before Gov's changes were published.
Right.
So that's why I'm asking this about
that was a good question. So you had to change spec midway through.
We just sort of in the first year had to sort of make educated guesses about what was going to end up being published. But I don't know, I wouldn't have thought you'd offer exams for the current spec and the new spec in the same year, right?
No, it's a good question.
Yeah, so therefore, let's assume that the first exam series would be, if it's first teach 2029, then the last exam series for the current spec would be the summer of 2030.
2030, yes.
Yeah. Meaning for a 3-year Key Stage 4, we would need to get started September 28.
Yeah. And you will be guessing at the types of things that would be in. Yeah, I see
if
what you
all
mean.
your timelines is working towards 2-year Key Stage 4s, yes. There are quite a few places to do 3-year Key Stage 4s. So if there was definitely going to be some things that was definitely going to stay, then at least we could sort of move things around that way, if that makes sense.
Yes. Well, by I'm thinking, would we know? We would know what would definitely be in, because the DFE subject content will have been released. So you will know by 2028
Okay.
If it's a 2029 one,
Yeah.
if it's a 2030 one, because we have to know the subject content before we can devise a spec. So you will still know what the subject content is. So it wouldn't be an educated guess. You would know the content, but you might not necessarily know how big it is on the specification, because we'll be drafting it, we'll be writing it.
And this will be the case for all, all the subjects. Because that first sort of awkward year.
Yeah. So we're expecting that kind of subject content, the DFE subject content, to be out, anytime soon for consultation. And then, that's where we get involved. So
Thank you very much.
Yeah, good question. Yeah, no problem. Are you looking to keep the structure of the exam papers similar, including the question length and use of sources? We find the current exam structure is quite accessible for our students, whilst also stretching the most able. I don't know for sure, but if our exam papers, and we do get a lot of positive feedback about our exam papers, if the structure that we've got is working and is popular, I would like to think that when we're devising our new assessment, devising our new exams, that we will take we'll take some of that forward. So again, I can't say anything like for total surety, but if it works, then we'll keep the elements that work for our teachers, definitely. Becky, you've got your hand up. Or did you ask me a question earlier?
Yeah, Becky, you should be able to
Becky. You can unmute, Becky. Unmute.
Oh, she's typing. She might be struggling.
Oh, is she? Okay.
While we're waiting, would you like me to launch the...
Oh, you can't unmute, okay.
Oh, I was just going to say, would you like me to launch the final polls as well for people to...
Yeah. Is the poll, do they know any more about assessment reform than they did 5 minutes ago?
Yeah.
Is there a way we can share contact details with each other, please? Participants. I'm not sure, Amanda. Can we do that?
Yeah, they're the only way is to kind of put them in the chat, but then you're sort of broadcasting them to people you might not want to. So I guess if you wanted to, they could email you perhaps, Sarah, and then you could put people in contact with each other, but there isn't really a forum that we have for that, unfortunately.
Yeah,
at the moment.
So I guess if you're happy for me to share your details, then what if they put their thumbs up, and then I'll have their details and I can share it amongst the people who want it sharing. Should I do that?
Yeah, I can make a note of the names. It's just need to make sure people have got their names properly showing on the screen, because sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, if people want
so
to,
you just put in the chat if you're happy for.
Yeah. Oh, Stephanie's put a thumb
share. Up. And also, if you could make sure that you are signed up for our alerts. So if you go through the AQA website if you click onto Contact Us, and you can sign up for subject alerts, and then you'll automatically get invited to our Curriculum Connects and our national programme events. Because I'll be running one in September, we'll be looking at the examiner report and doing a deep dive into some of the questions through our national programme. So it'd be really nice to see you there. Okay,
Stephanie, can I just check, because Stephanie, did you put your thumb up to say you're happy to share your contact details with Becky? Just give me another thumbs up or a yes in the chat, just so that I can be sure. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you.
Fantastic. Right, great, Becky. Thank you. Right, so have we got the final poll then, Amanda? Has that come through?
Yes, that's live at the
We've
moment
got-
in the
incidentally,
Slido.
we had
Yeah.
Ofsted in about 6 to 8 weeks ago, and they went, did they really? Interesting. We've got, is anybody going to the Association of Citizenship Teachers Conference on Friday? Because we've got a panel discussion with a member of Ofsted there. Ah, okay. Yeah, so I'm in a panel discussion with a leading Ofsted inspector type person, and so I'm going to be interested to see what her take is on what it's going to look like in terms of assessment. Sorry, inspection, not assessment. Okay. Oh, thanks, Gracie. They keep in touch. Thank you for your time. Oh, it's okay. What's your first name? Because it says Magnus. What's your first name? It says Mr. C.
It's Kerry.
Okay.
I wouldn't have bothered typing it. You'd have felt awkward. But it's Welsh. Yeah, Kerry.
Ah, okay.
Have a nice night.
Yes, you too.
Thank you.
Okay, right. Thank you. Come on, England. Yep.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Becky. Thank you. Okay.
Right, let me stop the recording.